the timeless past.
Where Sirens Fade. The sound of silence. The scream of sirens was the only sound that could cut through the thick, sun-drenched Los Angeles air. That and the shattering of glass. The cacophony of chaos, shouts, popping gunfire, the screech of tires, was punctuated by moments of terrifying silence. On the sidewalk, shards of a storefront window glittered like fallen stars against the concrete, a beautiful and horrific sight. In the middle of it all, 16-year-old Maya Ramirez lay on the ground. A dark crimson stain was rapidly spreading across her blue school polo shirt. Her eyes were open, staring up at a sky that seemed impossibly bright and bleached of color. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, a simple morning instruction. "Come straight home after school, Maya." But she wasn't going home. A moment ago, everything had been normal. She and her best friend, Chloe, were walking back from the ice cream shop, laughing about a stupid joke. It was their after-school ritual. Then, a black van screeched to a halt in front of them. Masked figures spilled out and stormed the bank on the corner. Maya and Chloe froze, their melting ice cream cones dropping to the pavement with a sad splat. Seconds later, the first shots rang out from inside the bank. Panic erupted. People ran in every direction. Maya grabbed Chloe's hand, pulling her behind a parked sedan. "Chloe, get down!" she yelled, her voice trembling. Then came the police cruisers, sirens wailing as they converged on the scene. The world turned into a war zone. It felt like a movie, but the fear was real, the smell of gunpowder was real, and the threat of death was suffocating. A stray bullet whizzed past Maya's head, shattering the car's rear window. She squeezed her eyes shut. She thought of her Uncle David, Officer David Miller, her mom's younger brother. He wasn't just an uncle, he was her hero. He'd always told her, "Maya, if you're ever in trouble, just close your eyes and count to 10. I'll be there." So she did. She closed her eyes. 1, 2, 3. A searing, white-hot pain tore through her abdomen. It felt like a molten steel rod had been shoved inside her. Her eyes flew open. She couldn't breathe. She looked down and saw the blood. Her blood. Chloe was screaming beside her. "Maya! Maya, get up!" But Maya couldn't move. Her strength was gone. The world began to blur, the sharp edges of the chaos softening into a dull, distant roar. The sirens faded. Then through the haze, she heard a familiar voice, cracked with terror. "Maya! Oh my God, Maya!" It was Uncle David. His LAPD uniform was covered in dust, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated fear. He sprinted toward her, yelling at another officer, "Get an ambulance! Now!" He knelt, gathering her into his arms, cradling her head in his lap. His hands, usually so steady, were shaking. "Maya, kiddo, stay with me. I'm here. See? I told you I'd come." His voice was thick with unshed tears. Maya tried to smile, but a thin trickle of blood escaped her lips instead. "Uncle, you were late," she whispered, her voice a fragile wisp of sound. And then the world went black. The last thing she felt was the warmth of her uncle's tears splashing onto her cheek. Broken dreams. The sterile white walls of the hospital room felt like they were closing in on Maya. The rhythmic, monotonous beeping of the heart monitor was a constant reminder that she was alive, but it didn't feel like living. It had been 3 days since she'd woken up. The doctors said the bullet had ripped through her abdomen, causing massive internal damage. They had saved her life, but the road ahead was long and uncertain. Her room was never empty. Her mother was a constant, weeping presence. Her father sat in silence, his eyes filled with a helpless sorrow that was almost worse than the tears. And then there was Uncle David. He came every day. He would sit for hours, sometimes just holding her hand, saying nothing. But this wasn't the Uncle David she knew. The man who told terrible jokes and could always make her laugh was gone. In his place was a quiet, broken man with a single burning emotion in his eyes: guilt. One evening, when they were alone, Maya found the strength to speak. "You're blaming yourself, aren't you?" David looked up, startled. "What? No, of course not." "Don't lie, Uncle," Maya said, her voice soft. "I can see it in your eyes. You think this is your fault." David's composure shattered. He stood up and walked to the window, his back to her. "I'm a cop, Maya. My job is to protect people, and I couldn't even protect my own niece. I was less than 100 feet away when that shot was fired. I failed." "You didn't fail," Maya insisted. "You found me. You got me here. You saved my life." "But this injury?" He turned to face her, the anguish on his face raw and painful. "This happened on my watch. If I had caught that robber sooner, if my patrol route had been different that day, maybe—" "There is no maybe," Maya interrupted. "You're a hero, Uncle. You always have been and you always will be. This was just bad luck. It wasn't your fault." But her words offered him no comfort. From that day on, a fire ignited within him, a fire fueled by vengeance. He wanted the men who did this to Maya. He wanted justice, but a dark corner of his heart wanted more than that. It wanted retribution. The department ordered him to stay away from the case. "It's personal, Dave. You're emotionally compromised," his captain had told him. But David wouldn't listen. He spent his days at the station, poring over files, watching the CCTV footage for hours on end. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating. He had one mission: find them. Meanwhile, Maya's own battle began. Physical therapy. Every day was a new form of torture. Sitting up, trying to stand, attempting to walk. Each movement sent waves of agony through her body, making her cry out. There were days she wanted to give up. She'd look at her reflection, a frail, scarred girl who was a ghost of the star basketball player she used to be. One afternoon during therapy, she fell. She couldn't get up and she lay on the floor, sobbing in frustration and pain. Her therapist, a kind woman named Anna, sat down beside her. "It's okay to cry, Maya. Let it out." "I can't do this anymore," Maya wept. "It hurts too much. I'm never going to be normal again." Anna placed a gentle hand on her arm. "Wounds aren't just physical, Maya. They scar the soul, too. The body heals with time, but healing the soul takes courage, and you are the bravest person I know." Anna's words struck a chord. Maya realized that if she gave up, the men who shot her would win. No, she wouldn't let them. Wiping her tears, she looked at Anna and, with her help, got to her feet. "Okay, let's try again." That day, Maya took 2 steps. Just 2. But they were the most important steps of her life. They were the first steps on her journey of defiance. The hunt for a ghost. David sat in a darkened room, the wall in front of him covered with photos, maps, and documents related to the bank robbery. He had created his own incident board, a chaotic map of his obsession. For 2 weeks, this room had been his entire world. He'd watched the CCTV footage 100 times. 3 masked robbers, their brutal efficiency, the chaotic shootout. They had been fast and clean, leaving behind no clear identifiers. But David was a good cop. He noticed the details others missed. He saw it on the 101st viewing. As one of the robbers fled the bank, he stumbled. A bag of money fell from his grasp. As he bent to retrieve it, the cuff of his glove rode up his wrist for just a fraction of a second. But it was enough. David zoomed in, advancing the footage frame by frame. There, on the robber's wrist, was a distinctive tattoo, a dragon eating its own tail, an Ouroboros. It was a small lead, but for David, it was a beacon of hope. He started calling his old informants. "Looking for a guy. Ouroboros tattoo on his wrist. Might be connected to that bank job." For days, there was nothing. David grew more agitated. He'd visit Maya forcing a smile, but she could see the storm raging inside him. "You're not sleeping, Uncle," she said one day as he sat by her bed. Your eyes are bloodshot. Just work stress, he lied. Is finding them worth this? She asked softly. Worth running yourself into the ground? David put down the spoon he was holding. Yes, Maya, it is. As long as they're out there, no kid in this city is safe. They need to be punished. Maya was quiet for a moment. Punished or made to pay? David had no answer for that. That night, he got a call from a blocked number. Officer Miller, you looking for a guy with a tattoo? The voice was a raspy whisper. Who is this? David snapped, instantly alert. Never mind the name. Listen up. There's a guy goes by Snake. Small-time thug who suddenly came into a lot of money. Hangs out at an old auto shop in the warehouse district. And yeah, he's got the ink you're looking for. The line went dead. David's heart pounded. It could be a trap, but he couldn't ignore it. He didn't call it in. This was personal. He checked his service weapon, grabbed an extra magazine, and headed for the warehouse district in his unmarked car. The district was a ghost town at night. David parked a block away and approached the garage on foot. It was derelict, its metal doors rusted. A dim light glowed from within. David crept to a grimy window and peered inside. 3 men were inside, playing cards and drinking. One of them, shirtless, had a clear Ouroboros tattoo on his wrist. It was them. A hot rage surged through David. His hand tightened on his gun. For a fleeting moment, he imagined kicking down the door and ending it right there. Maya's pain-filled face flashed before his eyes, but then he heard her voice in his head. Punished or made to pay? He took a deep breath. He was a cop, not an executioner. He pulled out his phone, called for backup, gave his location, and settled in to wait. He would have justice, not revenge. The final showdown backup was 10 minutes out. For David, it felt like an eternity. He remained hidden in the shadows, his eyes locked on the 3 men inside. Suddenly, the scene inside devolved into chaos. The man with the tattoo, Snake, started arguing with one of his partners. You can't keep all the money, he shouted. The hell I can't. It was my plan, my risk, the other retorted. The argument escalated into a shoving match. The 3rd man tried to intervene. Without warning, Snake grabbed a beer bottle from the table and smashed it over his partner's head. The man crumpled to the floor. Are you crazy? The 3rd man screamed. Snake laughed, a chilling, unhinged sound. Money makes people crazy. He grabbed the duffel bag of cash from the floor. I'm taking it all. David knew he couldn't wait any longer. If Snake got away, they might never find him. He keyed his radio. I'm going in. Miller, don't! Wait for us! His captain's voice crackled back. David turned the radio off. He kicked the door open, his gun raised. LAPD, freeze! Hands in the air! He roared. Snake and his remaining partner froze, stunned. Then Snake dropped the bag and pulled a pistol from the waistband of his jeans. Don't even think about it, David warned. Snake fired. The bullet whizzed past David's ear and slammed into the wall behind him. David returned fire. The garage exploded with the deafening sound of gunshots. David took cover behind a rusty workbench. He knew he had to take Snake alive. He was the key to the whole case. His other partner had already dropped to the floor, hands over his head in surrender. Give it up, Snake! You're surrounded! David yelled. Never! Snake shouted back, firing another wild shot. David saw Snake inching toward a back door, looking for an escape. David decided to take a risk. He darted out from behind cover, taking careful aim not at Snake's chest, but at his hand. The shot was perfect. The bullet hit Snake's wrist, and his pistol clattered to the concrete floor. He howled in pain. David rushed him. Before Snake could recover, David had him on the ground, his hands cuffed securely behind his back. Just then, the sound of sirens grew deafening as the backup team swarmed the garage. Captain Miller came inside, surveying the scene. He put a hand on David's shoulder. Are you okay, Dave? I'm fine, Captain, David said, breathing heavily. You did a good job. A reckless but good job. the captain said. "Now let us take it from here. Go home. Go see your niece." David looked at Snake, whose eyes were filled with hatred and defeat. David felt no pity, but the rage inside him had finally subsided. He had chosen justice, and justice had been served. A new dawn 6 months later. It was a beautiful morning in Los Angeles. Maya stood on her front lawn, her eyes closed, feeling the gentle warmth of the sun on her face. She took a deep breath. The air smelled of freshly cut grass and blooming bougainvillea. She could walk now. With a slight limp, but she was on her own 2 feet. The scars on her body remained, but when she looked at them now, she didn't see weakness. She saw strength. They were symbols of a battle she had won. She was back in school. She hadn't rejoined the basketball team, but she'd discovered a passion for art. Spreading color across a blank canvas brought her a sense of peace. She had learned that life doesn't always go according to plan, but that doesn't mean you stop living it. Uncle David walked up behind her. "Penny for your thoughts, champ?" Maya turned and smiled. "Just thinking what a beautiful day it is." David smiled back. The old David. The peace had returned to his eyes. The 3 robbers had been convicted and were serving long sentences. The city was safe. Maya was safe. "They're having a ceremony at the department today," David said. "I'm getting the Medal of Valor for that night." "Wow, Uncle. That's amazing," Maya beamed. "I want you to be there," he said. "You're the reason I was able to do it. You're my hero, Maya." Tears welled in Maya's eyes, but this time they were tears of joy. "I'll be there, Uncle. I promise." That evening, when David was called to the stage, the entire auditorium gave him a standing ovation. He accepted the medal and stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you," he said, his voice clear and steady. "But I'm not the one who truly deserves this medal. The real hero is a 16-year-old girl, a girl who taught me that true bravery isn't about revenge, but about resilience. That real strength isn't found in hatred, but in the courage to heal. This medal is for my niece, Maya Ramirez." In the audience, Maya wept as her parents hugged her tightly. After the ceremony, David and Maya walked together on the lawn outside. "You didn't have to say that, Uncle," she said, her cheeks flushed. "I just told the truth," he replied. "You made me a better man." They walked in comfortable silence. Life had dealt them a brutal blow, but it had forged their bond into something unbreakable. They knew there would be more challenges ahead, but now they were ready to face them together. Maya thought back to that horrible day. The sirens, the shattered glass, the pain. But now, when she remembered it, the chaos was gone. All she could hear was her uncle's voice, calling her name. The last voice she heard before the darkness, the one that promised he would always be there.